Hey guys. Okay, so extension letters. I've had two separate people reach out over the course of like the last week or so and basically say to me, yo, so these extension letter type things that you sometimes see pop up on Development Eye, what are they about? Like, what do they actually mean? Now, I have a general rule of thumb here. If I get the same question more than once in the space of 1 week, boom, there is that week's video topic. So guess what? This week we're going to talk about extension letters. Now, whenever people ask me about these letters, my natural reaction is just like, ugh, no, like they're a bugbear of mine. I do not like those things. Like they are just a paper pushing exercise. They add zero value. They're a resource drain on council's time. They're a resource drain on our time. And worst of all, they lead clients to panic. So people see that sort of thing and they're like, oh my goodness, council needs more time. The process is broken. They're not doing what they're supposed to be doing. And I'm like, calm down, guys. That is not the case. These letters are very standard and they mean absolutely nothing in terms of the process. So do not freak out. So yeah, when I get these questions, my natural reaction, I just want to be like, ignore them. Don't worry about them. Just totally block them out. But obviously I can't say that. Obviously I've got to explain it in more detail. So the more detailed response is basically to say, under the legislation that's written by the state government, you basically have a specific time frame, you being council, have a specific time frame to decide the application within. In super simple terms, let's just say 20 business days. There's a lot of factors that go into it, but let's just say 20 business days. If it's a code assessable application, and if you do not decide the application within that time frame, then you receive what's called a deemed approval. So it's automatically approved. So council, obviously, it's not in their interest to have an application automatically approved. So as it starts to approach that deadline, what they do is they issue a letter requesting an extension. Now, everyone always sits there and just goes, tell council to get stuffed. Like, no, they can miss their deadline. We want that deemed approval. Let me tell you now, it is not in your interest to go down that path. And that is why I sit here and say these letters are just like toothless tigers. They mean absolutely nothing in the real world. So basically, if you say no to council, or if council knows you're going to say no to them, to the extension request, you're going to get one of two outcomes. The first outcome is they're just going to refuse it. They're going to be like, well, cool, we don't have the information we need. We haven't had a chance to assess it properly and consider it properly. I'm sorry, refused, start again. Or if you do manage to slip it past them, so if they don't happen to see the deadline coming, which is super duper rare, they have processes in place to check for all of this stuff. But if it does happen to slip through and you get a deemed approval, it's not a time to party and celebrate. Basically, council's got 5 business days, in simple terms, 5 business days to issue the approval with the conditions. Now, those conditions you get, they are not going to be your friend. Like, you're going to get a lot of conditions that are just over the top, backside covering, what's the word I'm looking for here, OTT type conditions in there so that council covers for all the variables and things they haven't been able to consider properly or account for it yet, etc., which means naturally you're going to end up with an approval you can't act on. So guess what? You're going to have to lodge a modification application, go back through council. I can tell you now, a refusal or a modification application is going to use up a lot more of your time than that little itty bitty extension request. So yes, under the legislation, council does have to, technically speaking, make a decision within a set time frame. They very, very rarely are in a position, just because of pure resource drain and issues and all that sort of stuff, very rarely in a position to make that decision in that time frame. So it is super common practice for them to request an extension. It is not non-standard, it is totally normal. And when they do, it is not in your interest to sit there and say no to them, because like I said, you're going to end up with a worse outcome in terms of decisions, which means you're going to spend a lot more time going back and rehashing old ground. So yeah, that is why when I see these letters, I'm just like, oh, they mean nothing. Like, they're just a waste of time. And I hate the fact that they freak clients out and all of that sort of stuff. And yeah, there is no consequence. There's no benefit to them. They just mean nothing because you're kind of stuck between a rock and a hard place in terms of your options and decisions there. So yeah, hopefully that provides a bit more of a explanation, let's just say, as to what the extension letters are. Actually, one more thing I've just thought of that I probably should cover off. Stop the clocks. Same. But different. So basically, extension requests are council's way of saying we need more time to decide the application. Stop the clocks are more like council saying you need to do something, which means it's going to eat into our time and we're going to need more time down the track. So given you guys are doing that something now, i.e. gathering more information, amending plans, whatever, how about you hit pause on the currency period? See, let's hit pause on the assessment period, and then when you come back and relodge the information, we can pick up where we left off type thing. So it's kind of, stop the clocks are kind of preemptive extension requests that look more favourable to council because it's us initiating the stop rather than council stopping it. Yeah, that's what I'm trying to say. But long story short, same. Like, it still has the same outcome. It's still basically hitting pause on that period. Actually, something else I've just thought of, probably should have thought this video through a bit more before I started recording, but something else I've just thought of, everything I talked about there basically relates to code assessable applications. When it's an impact assessable application, you don't have the deemed approval at the end. So the consequences, you can tell council it's going to be deemed refusal. So basically, let's just issue this refusal and get moving. But why would you do that? So unless it's a situation, and I would never lodge one of these jobs, I ain't got time for going down these paths, but unless it's a situation where you know it's going to be refused and you just want to speed up that process and get it to the court's hands so that you can get a decision made there, it is never going to be in your interest to go down that deemed refusal path and to push that issue. It just doesn't make sense. That's the easy way to say it. Anyway, I think that covers off everything I want to talk about today. As I always like to say, until next time, thanks for watching.
For all you red tape lovers out there, I have one thing to say. Well, no, actually, I've got three. Number one, the advice provided in these videos is general in nature. It's not site specific. You would be a silly Billy to go and make financial decisions based on this advice without first checking with the town planner. Don't be a silly Billy. Number two, Brisbane town planning is in no way linked to Brisbane City Council. The views expressed in these videos are my own, not council's. So if you don't like them, blame me, not council. Number three, what was my number three? Oh yeah, the views expressed in these videos are accurate at the time of recording. If you're watching this video back 10 years from now, the views may not be so accurate. That's all. Bye.